I'm being
Morning.
razor for the day. Happy birthday as well.
Thank you very much.
You probably don't want to talk about it too much, but just a quick one on West Ham on Monday, because you talked about it immediately after the game as being a disjointed performance for a number of different reasons. Just now that you've had 3 or 4 days to think about what those reasons were, what more have you gleaned in the last few days?
I think I said disjointed last half an hour. I thought the first 60 minutes was pretty good. Had no complaints with the performance, had complaints with not taking our chances, and the goals we conceded. The last half an hour wasn't great. I think we had a couple of injuries, players playing out of position, and it showed.
Talking of injuries, Bruno and Joe Willock, the two obvious ones, how are they and how likely are they to play a part tomorrow?
They have a chance to play, not serious injuries, so we'll make a decision today.
Monday night is probably the strongest squad you've had available for a little while, and if those two are available and Dan Burn coming back as well from suspension, gives you the kind of selection dilemma that you probably want to have. It's a nice position to be in.
Yeah, I think it's a position that we weren't in at all last season. Or maybe at the start of the season we were, but very quickly those decisions ebbed away with the huge amount of injuries we had. Certainly you want that squad depth, especially in this month coming up. I think December is going to be crucial for us. You see the fixture list, we have a lot of games, an intense period, and you want that choice, and we're going to need that because naturally we're going to pick up injuries along the way.
Does that feed into your selection tomorrow, but also the way you approach tomorrow's game, the fact that you've got Liverpool on Wednesday, Brentford the following weekend, or not?
Yeah, to a point. Of course, you have to look ahead. We're well aware of what we have on the horizon, and there's certain players that I think we will have to manage during that period. But the focus is always on the next game, and it's always on trying to win the next game, and that always takes priority. So sort of a balancing act between the two.
And just finally from me, one on Palace, they're second bottom, but that's probably not a reflection on... It's a reflection on how they've played, but it's not a reflection on how dangerous they can be tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's a reflection on the strength that they have and how they play. And certainly Selhurst Park's always a difficult ground to go to. So I look back at the win against Tottenham. I thought they played really well. And I think their recent results have seen an upturn in performances and results. I think they've been much... more competitive in the last few games, and they'll always be competitive because that's the nature of the club that they are. So we go there knowing tough game, tough fixture, but we back ourselves always if we're at our best.
Thank you very much. Keith, Sky Sports.
Happy birthday, Eddie.
Thank you.
Have you been able to celebrate it after Monday? I guess celebrations tempered slightly after the week, would you say?
Slightly. Fully, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's been a normal day for me. I'm up early in here, preparing the game, and I think I've learnt in this job that family things always take a back seat to the job. Fully focused on the game and making sure that we're as well prepared as we can be.
You're always very measured pre and post match. After a result like that, when I think everyone would have expected a win, yourself included, do you read the riot act to the players at all, or are you measured the way you look at it?
Firstly, I think from a personal viewpoint, you can never underestimate the opposition. We certainly didn't with West Ham. We had a long time to prepare the game. And as I said, for the first 60 minutes, although we were 2-0 down, I thought the performance was pretty good. And I think if we get that first goal, I thought it was a really good feel and energy in the stadium early on. And if we get that first goal, the result is obviously very different. We didn't. We conceded. I think the goal affected us for 10 minutes. Then we recovered, played very well again. And then the second goal floored us. And that was disappointing, really. The reaction to the second goal in particular, as I said, the last half an hour wasn't great. So I think you always look at the first thing is the attitude of the players. How was our intent, body language, all the key clues really to how the players mentally are going into the game, and I thought we were pretty good. So there was no riot act, but there was a lot of reflection, a lot of analysis, and a lot of work done on the training ground since.
You've used the word consistency in here the last couple of weeks, and you've apologised for it both times you've used it because you've said, I'm sorry, it's a boring word. But why do you feel this season you're finding that word difficult to come by?
Yes, consistency of results, definitely. I think consistency of results is a very difficult thing to get. I think consistency of performances is the thing that we're looking for, and I think it's been much better since the opening few games. I think we have performed pretty well, not at our best levels, but pretty well for a sustained period of time. I think that's the Premier League this year, and I don't know why that is, but there's a lot of results, inconsistent results, meaning that's reflected in the league table being so congested and tight. Apart from Liverpool, I don't think anyone would probably say that they've been necessarily where they want to be. I think that's the challenge for all of us, and that's the competitiveness of the league. And certainly games and seasons are defined by the next one coming up. Crystal Palace, as I've said, always traditionally a very difficult fixture. They've got very good players, an outstanding manager. So this is another test of our mentality.
On the positive side of things, I know we've spoken about it a lot in press conferences. I thought I don't know if you agree with me, but I thought the war flags display for Alex Isak before the game was as good as we've seen. I guess he's frustrated that he wasn't able to pay the fans back on the night for that, and is he desperate just to sort of get back, get scoring and doing what he does best?
Yeah, it wasn't for the want of trying. I think he had 6-7 shots in the game, so I think he was definitely a goal threat. Unfortunately, the best finish he delivered was the one that was just marginally offside. But yeah, as I said, it wasn't for the want of trying. I thought his work rate, his physical figures and numbers were very, very good. It just wasn't to be in front of goal for him and the team. But he's been in really good form lately, and I thought overall it was a good performance from Alex. And again, the demand from the team is that we supply him as much as we can, because we know with him and Callum and Will, we've got 3 really good, dangerous strikers.
Thanks, Keith. Andy?
Morning, Eddie. Happy birthday. Do you feel 47? And what sort of presents do the family actually get Eddie Howe on his birthday?
Do I feel 47? Sometimes when I wake up, I feel older than 47. When I get out of bed, the body's taken a bit of a hammering in my life. A number of injuries over the years. Mentally, I feel good. I feel younger than 47. But you'll tell me how I look.
I'm not going there.
Oh, okay. Thought you might say how I've looked after myself.
Looking decent.
Facially.
Looking decent
Okay, thank you. Presents-wise, no, I haven't had anything. So it will be at a later date when the game's out of the way.
Get the game out of the way first. Just one on Monday. St James's Park, I think the word was frustration around St James's Park. Have you felt that frustration from the players on the training ground this week? And if so, how have you seen that frustration on the training ground this week?
I wouldn't say necessarily I've seen the frustration. I think you see the hurt in and around the changing room after the game. You want that hurt. You want the players to feel as disappointed as we all felt, supporters included. But then you want to see the reaction in the right way, so not necessarily showing outwards, but in the training, in the attitude to the training, in the detail of our work, in the focus in training for the next game. And I think we've seen that. I don't think we have an issue with attitude within the group. We've got a very professional group of players. But we need to find the solutions internally together and push forward and try and go on the run that we need to.
I suppose one of the plus points was Callum Wilson coming back from injury. Obviously, he's had such a difficult time. But so personally, rather than professionally, you've known Callum for many, many years. How much has he had to deal with? But also, from a mentality perspective, is he one of the strongest players you've ever come across to kind of have to deal with all these setbacks and still come through it and still keep coming back for more, I guess?
Yeah, it is difficult because naturally every sportsman wants to be able to execute what they're paid to do and what they love to do. And I think Callum's one of those players that anyone that knows him and seen him work loves to score goals, lives to score goals in training, and it's just a brilliant mentality to that. And when you're not able to do that because of your body, it's a hugely frustrating thing, and he's had setbacks and various challenges. But he always comes in with a smile on his face. He always comes in a positive mood, and I've got no doubt sometimes he's coming in that with that attitude, not feeling that way, but he's almost acting to a degree because he knows the power of his personality within the squad. I can't speak highly enough of how he's faced his challenges in his career. And this is a big moment for him now because he wants to stay fit. We need him to stay fit from our viewpoint because we know what qualities he has both on and off the pitch. He's a huge personality.
Just finally, Crystal Palace, I know you talk about it being a tough game against tough opposition and Selhurst Park being a tough place to go. What is the biggest challenge of going to a place like Selhurst Park?
Well, I think for us recently it will be starting the game well and trying to impose ourselves on them. I think controlling the crowd, all these things, and this is sort of copy and paste for any away game, because every away game brings its unique challenges. So we know what to expect. We've been there many times. But we certainly know that they're a very dangerous team, and we don't underestimate them.
Thanks, Andy. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just following on from Andy's question about Callum Wilson, how is he feeling physically after coming and playing on the pitch again?
Yeah, I think he felt fine. He trained yesterday. So, a good response to the game and the demands of the game, because he hasn't had a huge body of training. He's been away and he's done a lot of work, mainly away from the training ground with various specialists. But he came back in and, had a big bounce in his step yesterday, and fingers crossed it'll be the same today.
You have Fabian Schär and Joe Linton close to suspensions with yellow cards. Have you spoken to them about that? Because you do have this congested fixture list coming up.
It's a difficult one to go into too much detail on that, with the players, because they need to be free. Joey needs to be free to play his game. His biggest strength, or one of his biggest strengths, is his ability to win the ball and to cover every blade of grass and to be physical with his opponents. Part of the reason I withdrew him on Monday was to make sure we had him for the next game, because he is such a pivotal figure for us. With those guys, I think the likelihood is they will get booked before the cut-off point, but that's why we have the squad.
And just finally, after a disappointing home game, do you take some heart going into the Palace game, knowing that the away form has improved of late? Yeah,
I think we have to be positive in every respect. The league's still so tight. Again, consecutive wins can elevate you. Our last away performance was very strong. I see no reason why we can't deliver that kind of performance again. We respect every game. We don't take our foot off the pedal in respects of our preparation and making sure that the players are absolutely focused on what they need to deliver. And it's up to us to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nisha. Go to Damien, then Lee Ryder.
Morning, Eddie.
Hi, Damien.
Nothing wrong with 47, by the way. Or 57. Just check exactly what Joe Willock's injury was, please.
Joe took a bang, a nasty whack, trying to block a shot, I think, just above the ankle. So he lost a little bit of feeling in his leg. Went a bit numb for a while, but it looks like he is improved quickly.
Just on Callum, Alex Isak's form has perhaps been at his best during his time here when Callum's been fit and pushing him. How important is Callum's fitness in terms of not only what he provides, but the effect it might have on Alex?
Yeah, I do think there's probably something in that. I think psychologically, when you've got a player of Callum's quality and Alex's quality fighting each other for the shirt, I think naturally that can only increase your awareness really of your performance and making sure that you stay absolutely on top of yourself. They're two real competitors, very different in their games, but two absolute fighters that both want to play, which is a great thing for me to have. I'd love to have the opportunity to work with them both for a sustained period of time, because I think they add so much to the team.
Thanks, Damien. Lee?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning, Lee.
On Bruno, how's he doing physically and I guess sort of mentally after a disappointing night from the other night?
I think mentally Bruno's been really strong this year and previous seasons. I think he's had a lot to cope with. Of course, you can never underestimate the impact playing for a country like Brazil has on any athlete. I think it's intense pressure for him, a lot of travel, and of course he comes back here and he's captain here, so he's got a big demand on him. But I think he's relished that demand, and I think he is embracing it. But it's slightly different for him, so I think there's a period of adjustment for him. And games like Monday are a great test for that leadership and a great test for him and his resilience really to come back after disappointments and to not just think of yourself but to think of the group and the squad ahead of yourself. So really good challenges for Bruno, and physically he felt a muscle problem, but fingers crossed he's another one that's improving quickly, so we'll see.
Just on Lewis Miley, he's obviously had a great run last year. I mean, do you have to explain to him that it's not always going to be like that, or will he get another run this season?
I've got no doubt he'll get a run at some stage during this season. I think the big thing for Louis is that he's still very early back from his injury and we need to give him games. So tonight we'll touch wood, everything being well, and everyone comes through training today as an opportunity for him to play games and get his rhythm back with the development squad.
And obviously, I guess you're going to get asked about Mark Gouet at some point, a player that was linked heavily here last summer. What's your feelings going into the game, going up against him now, because you're going to know his strengths and weaknesses better than most managers, I guess?
Well, I'd like to think that we know about everyone's strengths and weaknesses, regardless of the player and the opponent. I think it's very difficult to comment too deeply. Look, Mark's someone we respect, and he's a very good player.
Thanks, Lee. Goes Craig, Aaron, and then Jordan.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Sandro Tonali hasn't been in the team since his performance against Chelsea the last 3. Where is Sandro at? How has he dealt with that, and how does he get back in the team?
Sandro's been good. Yeah, I think he's trained really well, especially this week. I've been really pleased with his contribution. I think he did really well when he came out against Nottingham Forest as well, in a moment where I think that game was in the balance. I think it was 1-1 when he entered the pitch, and I thought he really played a big part in moving that game towards us. So he's fighting for a place, and he's doing himself no harm with how he's performing in training.
There's a lot of debate as to Bruno and Sandro together. Now, they can obviously play together, but can they start together at the moment?
Anything is possible, Craig. Of course they can. They're two outstanding players. It's up to me to try and find a solution that works for both players and sees their qualities within the team, because I think you can put any player into the team and any combination of players into the team, but it's got to be to the team's benefit. It's got to be right for both players to showcase their attributes. So hopefully we can do that.
Thanks, Craig. Aaron?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just another one on Callum. Obviously not playing for so long, there's naturally a lot of outside noise about his future. It sounds like from your previous answers he's dealt with that outside noise really well.
I think as a modern day player now you have to. I think if you don't deal with outside noise and you let it affect you and let it creep into your thoughts, that can be a very dangerous thing. So I think one of the challenges for any modern day player, young player coming through, is the ability to ignore everything, apart from obviously the information that you need from people that you respect and have got your best interests at heart. So I think that's a new thing that modern players are adjusting to, because the noise in social media and other avenues can be really loud. So if the players sort of took that information on and believed most of it, none of them would be able to kick a ball. So I think Callum's experienced enough to know that, and is very single-minded in his pursuit of what he wants, and that's one of the biggest qualities he has.
And obviously Callum coming back might mean less minutes for Will Asula. How's he been since he signed in the summer, and how much progress have you seen from him behind the scenes?
Yeah, an interesting question, because I think Will's been excellent behind the scenes. I think there's always a process a player has to go through, especially when they sign, as in Will's case, so young, with a lot of work ahead of him to get to be the player that he eventually wants to be. But he's really committed to that work. I have to say he's been excellent. He's really embraced the coaching side of our work. He's worked really closely with Graham Jones, with myself, with Jason, with Stephen, Simon, with different people at different times, and I think we've seen a real growth in his performance. Now he's competing against two outstanding, experienced centre forwards, but he's got a big part in our future ahead, I think.
Thanks, Aaron. We'll go to Jordan, then Domska and Domshaw. Jordan.
Morning, Eddie. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Just on Joelinton, he started the last 4 games in the wide areas. Obviously, both 3 wins before the international break, a defeat on Monday. Does that defeat on Monday change your thinking in terms of his position, or do you still see him as a wide forward, best for the team?
I see him as everything, really. I don't think it's, I've said many times here, I think it's difficult to define what his best position is, and I think with Joe, he's very keen to do what's best for the team. I think I have to look at it on a game-by-game basis and see where we feel we need him for this particular game. He's got qualities in every position. I love him in midfield and I love him wide as well. But we'll continue to utilise him in different positions, as long as it's not to a detriment of his overall performance. But again, against West Ham, I thought he was very good for the time that he played.
And on Monday, Fabian Schär made his 200th appearance for Newcastle. In a social media post after the game, he said he has too many more. I think he's out of contract at the end of the season. would you like him to stay? And is that a hint that there might be a new deal in the offing?
Well, yeah, I think with Fabi, I think he's just speaking on my behalf. He's been incredible for me. I have to say, he's been absolutely sensational with some of the performances that he's delivered. He's an integral part of what we're doing. His use of the ball, I think, is well known. His technical qualities, but not only that, how he's defended has been very, very strong for us. So yes, he's an important player, and we'd love to keep him.
Dominic?
Morning, Eddie. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You haven't won a Premier League game without Bruno in the squad since he signed for the club. How important is it you find a way to manage these games?
That's not a great stat.
No.
I'm just trying to think how many games that would have been, but
it's 7. So how do you find a way?
Is that with him not in the? Sorry, I've got to ask a bit more. Is that with him not in the 18?
When he's not played.
Yeah, when he's not played. Okay.
Yeah. How do you find a way to win without him in the team?
Well, hopefully we don't have to figure that out. I don't know. Because he's in the team, so let's just keep him there for now.
Okay, and Louis Miley with the 21s tonight, as you expect, does that effectively, he won't travel to Palace then?
At the moment, as I say, we've got to train first, so let's see how we get through training. But the plan is that I feel Louis needs to play. He was injured for a period of time, and games will do him the world of good rather than travelling with us.
Cheers. Thanks, Tom. Tom Shaw?
Heidi, just on Callum's contract, can that be an extra incentive to him coming back now?
I think Callum's got loads of incentives internally built within him. I wouldn't necessarily have to ask him about those. I know what those are. He's a very driven person, and he does regularly set himself goals. So I'm sure his contract will be on his mind, but I think it'll probably be at the back part of his brain because he'll be focusing on the here and now and doing things that can affect his long-term future for the positive.
You mentioned the congested nature of the league this year. Does that present you with a unique opportunity?
Well, it does, because we know that if we can be consistent, there's every chance that we can have a great season. But the frustration for me, looking at Monday night, was a massive opportunity missed. And we can't keep missing those when they arrive because they won't be there forever. So, yes, the league is tight, and it does give everyone in the league an opportunity if you can find that level of form that we're all after.